Saturday. You already know we right here. We're decided to hop on top of it with individuals. He was the talk of the town. Is going down the word on the curve. You heard me. Let me just set this up real quick. Today it is a beautiful hot day in Southern California. You know, perfect day to be out and about and enjoying yourself. Except stay in the shade because this shit hot, bro. It was like a hundo today. So it's definitely probably too hot still to do something, right? But later on when it cools down, it doesn't really cool down, but at least there's no sun because it was hot as fuck yesterday in the night as well. Let me just set this over here. So now I have less space to work with. Now, oopsie, my bad. For those who are curious, did drop a new video on my other channel yesterday. You guys want to scope that out, right? And we have another battle rap reaction coming, you know, as well. Whoopsie. So, you know, stay tuned to that. Whoopsie. Okay. There's been actually a lot of requests being made for the battle rap reactions, you know. There's been a lot of new artists that I never even heard of, right? Being suggested as well. So get to, you know, shine some light on those individuals and see what they bring into the table, you know, when it comes to the music side of things. Which I always like. I always like when people, you know, send me new rappers that I never heard of, you know, because then now that expands, you know, my interest in, you know, different type of music by individuals. You know, because especially for the raza, it's a lot harder to get your music out there, right? Or to get people to, you know, fuck with your music, right? Because they hardly get any exposure. So, you know, the fact that individuals on YouTube, you know, by spreading the word and all that, you know, it helps, you know, them now in their career. Because a lot of them do have talent, especially the ones that I have been reacting to lately. They bring a lot of skills, bro. Oh, and I'm actually going to be doing a reaction also to that I got requests to Chill from 16 to Life's music. So that's going to be coming. And for those who are not aware, go subscribe to, you know, Chill's channel. You know, he's an individual, you know, solid individual. And apparently he raps, so we're going to be definitely scoping that out. What's crying like a dish pool? Well, you already know we're right here at work, bro, like always. You know, slaving away. What'd you eat? We had some tacos today. Where are you going? Well, no, I'm actually on my lunch break at work. So we're on our break right now. You're coming? Yeah, so we're actually on our lunch break right now, just chilling. I'm waiting for other types of reactions like North USA versus South USA, or East Coast and West Coast. You mean like the north of the country versus the south of the country? East Coast and West Coast. See, with the East Coast and West Coast, that's a little bit more difficult. Like, let's say if you're looking to if you're looking to compare the two musics, because the styles are very different, right? Very, very different. When we're talking about the New York sound of things compared to the West Coast sound of things, you know, it's almost like if it's, you know, two different types of music almost. You know, because you can't say that the Wu-Tangs sound like the Death Rows, because they don't. You know, they just have way too different sounds to them. So that would really, really, truly come down to just preference. Do you prefer the West Coast sound? Do you prefer the East Coast sound? You get what I mean? I myself, even though the West Coast is banging, though, lyrically wise, I prefer the East Coast sound. Beat wise, I prefer the West Coast sound. Now, if we were to get some East Coast rappers and some West Coast beats, that would be like magic. Right? Because I prefer the East Coast rappers' style, right, and lyrics, right, lyrical wordplay compared to these guys. Because, you know, the West Coast is more basic, but then the West Coast beats are phenomenal, while the East Coast beats are cool too, but they're not as, you know, gravy, right? So, so they all have their strengths to them, right? At least keep in mind these are just all my opinions. I'm not saying that that's actually how people see it, but this is the way I see it. What's crazy like it, Mr. Pasa's definitely up in the casa for the raza. Serio, bro, it's fucking hot as fuck out there, bro. No lie. And, you know, this whip is not as cool as the other whip, right? Like, when it comes to like the AC and all that shit, right? It's a little bit more hotter in this whip. Said hi. Hello there. Oh, the homie Derek is definitely up in the building, getting ready for work. That's right, my boy. Hey, at least you guys don't have to worry about this type of heat over there where you're at, my boy. It is hot as fuck right now. My mom made some good Indian food today called... Hey, oh, serio? What is it, though? Like, like what ingredients are in it? I got sunburn. A little at work. Oh, I feel you, bro. Oh, yeah, because that shit doesn't have a roof, no? So the sun is just beaming on you? I feel you. Yeah, New York is different from today. LA music. Yeah, it's oh yeah, especially now. Yeah, the modern day stuff. Yeah, like the Takashi and all that. It's more like I'm not gonna say like a rocker tone to it, right? But it's a little bit more aggressive, meaning like beat related though. While the West Coast is more of the what's that, the G funk type flavor, right? It's like the mixture of modern beats, but with the old school sound, right? Like of soul music. I'm talking about today's rappers, Death Row, Wu-Tang, though. I'm not a fan of anything before 2010. Well, is it truly that you're not a fan? Because have you heard all of the sound that existed below that time frame, though? Because that's a lot of music, though. Like, you never know. Maybe if you scoped out some of that music, maybe you would enjoy some of those tracks. You never know. We can't automatically assume now that we don't like everything from back then if we never heard it. Fuck both sides of the brainwash idiots. Well, see, the thing is that it's only brainwash if you allow it to brainwash you, though. Because music doesn't make people do stuff, even though it does plant the ideas, the seeds. It doesn't, actually make people do the things, right? There's numerous factors of why people choose to display those kind of behaviors, right? And it's not all related to just music or video games, right? It is merely just one of the pieces, of the storm. It takes the right recipe, the right amount of things to happen in order to create individuals to display bad behaviors. It can't just all be traced back just to one thing. It's a multiple of things. At work, I gotta put the phone away, but moving to Long Beach in 2 weeks. Never as hell. It'll be all great, bro. You're good. Rap music destroys America. Destroyed America? No, it didn't. Because look, rap music, even though no matter what they're saying or whatever, what they're talking about on there, right? We can't say that it's more violent than, let's say, the Western movies that they played or the black and white movies that they had back then, right? With the violence and the murders and the shootings and all of that, right? So it's still, violence being displayed out there and bad behaviors, bank robbers and criminals and stuff like that, right? In cinema, right? Even though black and white cinema, old school cinema, still, displaying violence, right? And, people growing up and watching this and hearing this, right? So, why do we say that the music is more problematic than this? You get what I'm saying? When back then people were looking up to these individuals as role models as well. I mean, it was a thing that was popping, and that's before music even was a thing. And even music back then had some, music that people, fuck with, that was talking about a whole lot of shit that's not probably the best shit. And here, keep this in mind as well. Keep in mind that the gang members, the first sets of gang members and gangbangers and drug and all that shit, right? When they were first out there doing the things that they were doing, rap was not around. Rap hadn't existed. The first rappers hadn't even hit the scene yet because they were still gangbanging. They were still doing negative things. So they were gangbanging and doing negative things to music that's like oldies. And oldies is talking about nothing but love and peace and everything. This is what they were bumping while they're doing all the crime and chaos that they're doing, right? And then, finally now when they, decided to give the music a try, themselves, now they started talking about the things that they were doing before they were rapping, which was gangbanging and all the negative behavior. And that was before rap was even a thing. So how can we say that that's the source of the problem or what destroyed America if these individuals were displaying those behaviors before rap had even existed? You get where I'm coming from? because my older homies do not hear rap. They don't even like rap, right? And they were gangbanging to music like, you know, the Temptations and Barbara Masons, and you know what I mean? And you can't tell me that music is negative, because it's not. It's talking about love. But yeah, this is what they were hearing. Serial killers, criminals, drug dealers, all of that have been around way before rap, way before video games, way before you know, all the bullshit that's out nowadays. These individuals have already had been doing the things that they were doing. But see, it's so easy to blame, you know, this if it's made, especially by the mainstream media, by propaganda as where the people to target their energy, their negativity towards. You know, it's the fault of rap. Of course it is. Parents are always going to blame the rap music, the video games, their friends. Yes, they're going to blame everything except looking in the mirror, bro. It's always going to be something else, but never because of them. People are never going to own up to their mistakes. It's a lot easier blaming something else, whether the video games, the music, the movies, their friends, the environment. People could come out from the ghetto, you know, with, you know, gangs all around them and drug dealers all around them and shootings and all of that. But if their parents provide the proper morals, if their parents show affection, show love, if the parents are actually in their child's life, then no matter what scenarios are is happening around them, or them playing video games and hearing rap, they will never display these types of behaviors, right? You have individuals that have came up in these types of situations and didn't turn out to be criminals or drug dealers, or, you know, and all of that, right? What was done different, you know, for this kid to not be like these other kids, right? It always comes down to the parenting, bro. What did those parents do different than these parents? Why did those kids turn out this way, but these kids didn't, though? Because remember, in these areas where there's gangs and crime and everything like that, not all those kids turn out to be criminals and gangbangers. What is done different? What is done different with those kids than these kids? Why did those kids, you know, choose to become, you know, part of that, and these kids didn't? You know what I mean? Because they're all liking the same thing. The same shits are trending. But like I said, why do some choose to make that leap, though? What is done different? They're all growing up playing the same video games and hearing the same sounds. I have a question. How do you feel when people compare gang infested cities in America, like Chicago, LA, war zones like Ukraine, Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, like when they call Chicago Chirac? Bro, these are people that clearly have no idea what they're talking about. LA, Chicago, and all these other cities, whatever, is nothing and not even close to the war zones of some of these areas, bro. That's talking without knowing, bro. These people are truly living, you know, grave, gacho, you know, like bad. You know what I mean? You have it lovely here in America. Lovely, bro. You know? Like, it's not even close of a comparison. You know? You can't compare military gunplay to street gang gunplay. You know what I mean? These guys with their pistols and their revolvers, and, you know, out of the 20 guys, only maybe 2 of them have guns. Compare that to a brigade, or, you know, a fucking squadron of, you know, properly, you know, trained soldiers with, you know, the most best type of weaponry that we have: tanks, RPGs, you know, fucking grenades, bombs. You know what I mean? Because these battles are happening in these towns and these cities and these villages of these countries. You know, it's not like back then where they meet up in an open field, and, you know what I mean? These fucking battles are happening in these people's fucking homes. You know what I mean? They have to fucking duck and get on the floor just to avoid bullets, whistling by. When they had nothing to do with nothing, but this is how war is played out. Bomb the city until the government submits. Kill as many of their people as possible till they finally decide to, surrender. This is how countries get down. This is how war is fought. Japan, bomb Pearl Harbor. Fuck it, drop 2 bombs on their cities, sir. But there's women, children, pets. Who gives a fuck? They'll submit. Okay. Boom, and everybody's like, hell yeah, these guys are war heroes, yeah, man. Yeah, my uncle fought, my dad fought in the war, bro. He killed like 30 people. Fuck yeah, that's right, homie. Yeah. A gang member kills another gang member. Oh, these guys are monsters. There's a savagery out here. How could they be like this? Non-humans. Like what? What the fuck? I guess. Like, make it make sense, my guy. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm proud of my father. He fought in the war. He killed, 50 people. Oh, damn, and you proud of that? Wow, you're really proud of that, huh? All right. Yeah, not like my low-life brother. He's in jail doing life. He killed another gang member. Can you believe that? The guy's a fucking idiot. You don't say. But you're proud of your dad, huh? Oh, yeah, my dad's a war hero, bro. He killed 50 other soldiers. Hey, them other soldiers didn't have family? They probably did. Oh, yeah, they probably did have family that loved them, and they probably had kids. But he's a war hero, though. Huh? And your brother's a lowlife. Okay. I see. I feel you. It makes sense. Like, come on now, people. Really? Society. Am I missing something? Am I truly missing something here? No, it's because, when we're going to war, we got to defend our country. Like, what? Killing people that you never met a day in your life, though? What about their families? What about their kids? Fool, it's all about our country, though. Oh, okay, I guess. I thought nobody had the right to take another person's life, though. Like, bro, look, you know what? Just stop asking questions, right? It sounds a lot better when you're not asking questions. Like, all right. I guess. Now, see, I never say these things to justify gang members' behaviors, right? Or to make it okay for the gang members to do this, the things that they do. But the thing to me is just that if you have problem with one, then you have to have a problem with the other. You cannot excuse one and then, make excuses for the other, bro. Because people talk about being hypocrites. Bro, let's talk about being hypocrites, bro. People talk about people making excuses. Let's talk about people making excuses, bro. Let's really talk about it. That was it. Aren't you the guy that got caught trying to meet my 12-year-old cousin? People are too funny. What in the glaze we got going on here? A whole lot of nothing. I'm a fan of some 90s, some 2000s, but I've heard them all? I wouldn't even say I have heard them all, though. Oh, you want me to react to something recent, more modern day, you mean? Like the modern day flavor. When it comes to Chicano rap, or you mean just rap in general? Like what the youngins are hearing? I mean, I'll react to it. It's really difficult for me to get into the sound, but I'll react to it, though. Chicano rap or today rap mainstream? Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing. I was born in 19% of the songs in my playlist will be 2010 and especially 2016. Okay, I feel you. So from like that time frame, you mean? Fat Boy or Run DMC? That's actually a good question. You're kind of right, but look into how Illuminati uses to fuck with us subliminally. Oh, now well, people have added subliminals to a lot of things, not just even music, but like you can find subliminals in a lot of things, right? Even in cinema, cinema uses a whole lot of subliminal shit going on, right? I mean, just breaking down the concepts of certain movies, like if you take, for example, just like The Matrix, what is The Matrix really trying to hammer home as a message, right? Is it not just like a modern day futuristic version of the of Jesus' story, right? Christ himself, right? So what are they trying to say with that? You know what I mean? I mean, if you really dissect anything, right, you can find a whole lot of parallels, and a lot of things that's similar, right? And now, if you grab those things that are similar, right, it could lead the possibility of, is there a hidden message? Is this what they're trying to hammer home? Is this what they were trying to get across? You get what I mean? But see, the thing is that not everything has such a like a backstory to it. You feel me? Because literally, you can literally grab anything, bro, and you can make a conspiracy out of it, though. And this is facts, though. You know what I mean? Most rap uses low frequency to fuck with us. Yeah, but see, if that would be the case, then it would fuck with a lot of people, not just certain people. You get what I'm saying, though? Like, because when we're talking about rap, you're hearing it everywhere. Even if you personally are not the one that bumps it, you hear it when when you're traveling, when you're driving, when neighbors are having parties. So it would tend to mess with everybody, not just certain individuals, right? If we're talking about like there's hidden messages and frequencies to make people do the things that they do, though. As a civilian who has no gang ties, I can understand why anyone would dislike gang culture, but that doesn't mean. Yeah, facts. Gangs are not cool. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. You know what I mean? Um, this is all facts, right? But the thing is that with individuals, that they try to make excuses for other behaviors, right, or contradict themselves, or come with the hypocrisy, right, and feel like they're in the right. You know what I mean? Uh, you're my like Biggie said, rap was money was necessary. Um, do you have papers? I have a paper. We don't want to see you. Why do you think some people prefer to sell drugs instead of getting legal money by jobs? Why do you think some people see the thing with that is that only truly those individuals know why they choose or why they chose the route that they chose. Like you would literally have to talk to each and every one of these individuals, because all of their reasons might be different. You know what I mean? Um, that's why I don't brand people like whatever, however shit turned up, right, like all the same thing, right? You same way, psychology. This is the way psychology works. You would literally have to sit down with each individual and find out why they tick the way they tick. You get me? You can't say that if this individual ticks like this for this reason, then they're all gonna tick like that for the exact same reason, right? Like there's different, even though they may have the same source, right? But like I said, there's different things that played factors, right? And finding out what these factors are, right, in order to help this individual now, rehabilitate himself. Because remember, like let's say with therapy, these individuals have the answers, but the thing is that with therapy, you can't. When people say like, why don't they just tell them what's wrong with them? Like, well, that's not how it works, though. You get me? You can't tell somebody. They have the answer. Your job is to help them figure out what that is, though. Because truly, people, when we're talking about accepting, or making progress or something like that, they have to come to the realization themselves. They have to unlock that. That is how they better themselves. You tell them, that's not gonna help them. They have to come to the realization themselves. Same when people on here, right? When you see people's videos and people get exposed and people put out all this evidence, there's some people that don't believe it, even with the facts present, right? They don't believe it. the day that they open their eyes is when they themselves are watching this person and they come to the realization once they see it, whatever, however they see it, right? And be like, you know what, maybe these people were right, you know? But they have to come to the realization themselves. That's when people stop fucking with people. Like, oh, no, I stopped messing with this. You know what I mean? But, I mean, you can tell them all you want. But there's individuals that just truly won't believe it until they come to the realization themselves. That's just how humanity is. You know? You can try to help somebody, right? But it's not until they have to see it. You know, some people have to learn the hard way. Sad but true. You know, you can tell them, hey, don't do that, don't do it, and then until they do it, and then they end up getting fucked. Like, what did I tell you? But see, they had to learn the hard way. That's just the way somehow some people get down. For whatever reasons, you know, I don't know. Right? We would have to now sit down with that person and find out why they tick the way they tick. But there's a source to why we all behave the way we behave. Why that is. There's always roots to everything. It's just finding out what those roots are. Because people just don't say and do things for absolutely no reason. That's not how the world works. Even those who really believe that, right? Like serial killers, until they sit down and they interview them and then they realize, oh shit. There's some serial killers that really believe that they were killing just for the fuck of it. Until they realize that, well, that's not true because there's a pattern within your murders. So if it really was for absolutely no reason, there wouldn't be a fucking pattern. There's a pattern here. Do you not see the pattern? Then when they see the pattern, they're like, huh. See, they weren't able to see it before. But no, there's a pattern to your madness, my boy. There's a pattern to everybody's madness. Or everybody's structure. That's why psychology is a real thing, bro. If not, it would just still be, you know, something that people would be like, yeah, it's not a real field. No, it is. This is the reason for it. The evidence. You know, because these types of behaviors exist in every single part of the world where people live. America's not the only place that has gangs and prostitutes and gambling and you know, domestic violence and you know, criminal activities. It exists in every single place that there's humans in. Same with serial killers have existed in every single place that humans have lived in. You know, these individuals are not unique. Cannibals, there's been cannibals throughout everybody's, you know, fucking countries. Since as far back that the records could go. So even though these people are, you know, like twisted and despicable and, you know, deviant, but they're not unique. Even though they would like to think that they're unique, they're not though. You know? Same with people that are narcissists. You know what I mean? It's human behavior. That's how the field was created, right? Like, that is a trip that people exist with a similar mindset across the other part of the fucking globe. And at the time when there was no communication, no social media, no cell phones, no nothing, yet people are behaving similar for the same reasons. How could that be? You know what I mean? It's different that you say, oh, well, no, they got their inspiration from the you know, seeing it on social media. We're talking about in an age where none of that was even a thing. Travel wasn't even a thing. Rare, right? So how will these individuals be able to inspire other individuals to behave in similar, you know, mindset? Because this is human behavior. You get what I'm saying? And if you hear all these people's stories, right, when they talk about, you know, something, you start to see a pattern. And a lot of the pattern has to do how they are raised as children. You know what I mean? And like I said, they're all using the same excuse before they are even aware of each other and stuff like that. So like, what, they all telepathically, you know, shared answers? You know, but people don't want to accept this as the answer, even though it's like, well, how do you explain this then? It's like, oh, he must have heard this guy say it. No, but this is before any of that though. But it's hard looking in that mirror, bro. It really is. Looking in that mirror is very difficult. So it's a lot easier. Let's blame other shit. Let's blame, you know, all this and that. Why is your sound so high pitched? That's just the way it is. Would it help you if it was more lower? Would you prefer it that way? I mean, I guess I could. Would you enjoy it more with a deeper voice? All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. We got to get back to it. It was good chopping it up with you guys, and we out.